Now we are starting properties of electric field lines. So the first property is electric field lines start from the positive charge and end at the negative charge. Before we have started in the previous chapter when we talked about the electric field, there I told you that electric field line is a path along which the positive charge would move if it is free to do so. That means suppose at this point you will see the laser light. If at this point if I put a unit positive charge, so because of this positive charge, where this test charge would move, it would move outward. So that was the direction of the electric field. That way we decided so here the electric field is outward, right? So for a positive charge, the electric field direction is radially outward. And similarly, if this is a negative charge, these two charges are isolated. They are not kept together, they are isolated charges. And similarly for the negative charge, if you see, suppose if I at this point put a test charge, so test charge would be attracted towards negative charge. So this is the direction of electric field at this point. That means for negative charge it is radially inward. You can see radially inward, all the arrows are pointing inward. So this is radially inward, and this is for positive charge, it is radially outward. Now, the second property is the tangent to electric field lines gives the direction of electric field at that point. Now, there we have considered two isolated charges. These are now two charges kept together. The one is positive, another is negative, right? So, at this point, you see the pointer. So, if at this point, if I put a test charge, what will happen? Because of this positive charge, that test charge would be moving outward. It would be repelled because of the positive charge, and because of this negative, it would be attracted toward this side, right? You can see with the vector direction. And one more thing you have to notice, if the vector is big in magnitude, here you can see the size of the vector is big, so that represent the magnitude of electric field is more. See, if the distance between the two charges is more, here the distance is less compared to this distance. So if the distance is less, the electric field would be more. So that's why the electric field is more. Inverse relation is proportional, inversely proportional to 1 by r square, and here E2. So at this point we have E1 this side and E2 this side. So what is the net electric field? It is tangent at this point. You can see one with the green line. So this is tangent to this point. So what is given here? The tangent to the electric field lines gives the direction of electric field at that point. Clear? Next property says no two electric field line can intersect each other. Here in the picture you can see all the field lines are moving from positive to negative, but they are not intersecting. Suppose in case if they intersect, so what I can, at this point I can draw a tangent at this side, one with the purple line, and one tangent I can draw this side. That means we have two direction of electric field at this point, which is never possible. The third is the relative closeness of electric field lines gives the strength of electric field at that point. Suppose you consider a case here, one with the purple rectangle. So at this point you can see number of field lines are more. So electric field, where the electric field lines are more, that means the electric field strength is more here. And here in this region, if I consider, the electric field strength would be less. Where the lines are more, the field would be more. Where the lines are less, the field would be less. So these are the 4 points you should keep in mind always. Now, there was a query put up by Swarnim Bahuguna to find the electric field due to uniform finite line of charge without using Gauss. See, if we are using Gauss, we can find the formula directly. That is a very short method. But in question, if it is particularly asked, so here is the solution, although we would have taken this topic in the coming lecture. So this is your line charge distribution, and suppose we have to find the value of electric field at this point. Let's say this is at a distance d. So again, this is a line charge distribution. We don't have a point charge here. So what we would have done, we would have considered a point charge here. Let's say the charge is dq, and the distance of this charge from the center is from this point is your x, and let the point where we are calculating the electric field, this is at a distance r. Clear? Now what is the electric field at this point? Because of this charge, it would be your dE. Obviously, when the charge is small, the electric field also would be small. So dE would be your k dq upon r square. And what is its direction? It would be along this line outward, right? So we now here we cannot do it directly because there are so many other components involved. We have taken only one small charge. If we will add up all, we would have to integrate. So we cannot do it right now directly. So you see again one more thing here. This is your point P. So if I break it down, let's say this is your angle theta and this was your DE, right? So this is your DE cos theta. This is the perpendicular component of this line charge. This is the perpendicular component of electric field, right? And this is the parallel component, DE sin theta. Clear? So we will be first solving for DE perpendicular component. So what is DE perpendicular component? It is DE cos theta. So what is DE? You will substitute the value from here, k dq upon r square, and here is your cos theta. Now again you see in the question, you have a variable r also and here dq also. Now you see since we had a line charge, how can we write as what we can write as dq in terms of lambda? If we have to write, it is lambda dx. And if I write r square, what is r square? It is x square plus d square, x square plus d square. Now if I substitute here, so we have the perpendicular component as k lambda dx, right? K lambda dq, instead of dq we are writing lambda x cos theta, and here is d square plus x square, right? Now you see I have taken only small element. If I take all the elements, what I'll be doing, I'll be integrating this DE component. But again you see here we cannot resolve it. Why? Because we have this right side equation, we have two variables. We have x also and theta also. Either we reduce it to x or to theta, whatever we do, but this right hand side should come in terms of one variable. So what I'll be doing, I'll reduce x. So if you see this equation, what is the value for x? I can write it as d tan theta. This is a right angle triangle. If this right angle triangle you see, this is also your angle theta. So it is d tan theta, right? So if this is d tan theta, so what is dx? Dx would be your d sec square theta d theta. What was this? What have I done here? I have partially differentiated this equation. This is just a partial differentiation, d with respect to nothing. Clear? So we have, so if I substitute the value here, DE perpendicular is now k, okay, lambda, okay. What is dx? What is dx? It is d sec square theta d theta, and we are left with now cos theta. Fine. But down we have d square, okay. But what is x square? It is d square tan square theta. That means plus d square tan square theta. Now we have reduced it to only theta. Clear? So DE perpendicular component is coming out to be k lambda d sec square theta cos theta d theta, and here if I take d square common, I am left with tan square theta, which is again sec square theta. So I have k lambda d upon d square sec square theta cos theta d theta upon sec square theta. This would be cancelled, right? So we are left with k lambda upon d cos theta d theta.
Now see, for finite line charge, DE perpendicular component came out to be k lambda cos theta. This was due to this small element, right? This E perpendicular component, DE perpendicular component is because of this small element. So if I have to calculate it for this full portion, so what I will get, let's do it here. So I have to, that means I have to integrate it, but from where to where? From this lower portion, let's say this is A and this is B. From A to B I have to integrate. So here is your term theta. So integration of theta would be from, we have begun from here na? So we are going from here down, you see here. So I'll write this angle as beta and this angle as alpha. So DE perpendicular means E perpendicular component, let me write, E perpendicular is your integration of DE perpendicular, which is again k lambda upon d cos theta d theta, but integration from where? We are from this origin, we are going down, that means minus beta to alpha. So E perpendicular is finally coming out to be k, I'll take constant k and lambda, again d also, and we have here cos theta d theta, we are integrating from beta to alpha, minus beta to alpha. This is must, you should write. So what is the integration of cos theta? It is sine theta, that is minus beta to alpha. So we are left with k lambda upon d. What is sine theta? Sine upper limit minus lower limit. So sine alpha minus of sine minus beta, that is sine of beta. So this is the expression for E perpendicular component. Here itself, if you see, if I have to write for the perpendicular component, parallel component also, I can straight away also say it here. But you see, this is a parallel component because of this small element. But the same, if I consider an element in the upper half, suppose if I would have considered the element in the upper half, then the electric field would have been in this direction, and then dE sine theta would have come here and dE cos theta in this direction. So dE sine theta would have cancelled, only cos theta component would have added. But let me again write it in terms of equation. If I would solve it, it would be in terms of integration, it would be cos beta minus cos of alpha. Now you see, we are taking the, if suppose, now condition, these are two important, very important condition which may be asked in the questions sometimes. For infinite line, this was finite line. If it is infinite line, in that case alpha and beta we will take as pi by 2. What do you mean by infinite line here? This line is in extending up to infinity. So in that case, what would be your alpha and beta would be pi by 2. So if I substitute it here, this, let's say this is first equation, this is second equation. So E perpendicular component would have been k lambda upon d sine of pi by 2 plus sine of pi by 2, that is 2k lambda upon d. This is what we are getting in Gauss law also. And here if we will substitute, so E parallel would come out to be 0. This is one case. Another is if it is infinite, if, or we say not infinite, semi-infinite. For semi-infinite case, the thing is actually, this is the part of the line, semi-infinite line, and this is the point P. So here we do not have any down component beta. So beta would, we will write as 0 and alpha would be your pi by 2. So if we will substitute it this way, so we will get E perpendicular component as k lambda and E parallel component as k lambda upon d, and E net finally would come out as 2 k lambda upon d. Okay, thank you.